I mean, these were bad. I mean, we're talking like, hey, John, I've blown like 5 trading accounts, or I've blown like 10 challenges. I've spent all this money on challenges. I've lost it all. I can't seem to, get a grip on it. I don't know what the problem is, if it's discipline or this or that and the third. So self-reflection and journaling, I think, is a very important aspect to a trader's development, as well as a person, uh, like personal development. And to be honest, I'm not the greatest journaler in the world by any means. I don't journal every day, even. The daily stoic journal I do have. I mean, I've taken days off, and days ended up turning into weeks. I mean, I'm not perfect, okay? And so I read a chapter, part of it yesterday and part of it today, in Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life book. And the only reason that I read it is because I read the first chapter and I knew what the second chapter was about. Or rule 2 rather. I mean, chapter 2, rule 2, whatever. But the title of rule 2 is treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. And I'm going, oh my God, that is an interesting observation, right? A way of putting it, right? Treat yourself like you're someone responsible for helping. And of course, it's Jordan Peterson. If you know anything about him, he goes all over the place, but then comes all the way back and ties everything together. It's very strange. It's very weird, but I do enjoy reading Jordan Peterson. I mean, I feel like my brain is scrambled eggs after the chapter is done, but he's got some really good points, and he uses a lot of big words and phrasing. It's incredible the way his brain works and operates. But anyway, I'm reading through this chapter, and basically the notes of this chapter is we treat sometimes other people better, or we wish better for other people sometimes more than ourselves, because we know our flaws more than anybody else does, right? Like, you guys aren't aware of all the bad trades that I've taken. I am, right? Like, I know some really bad trades that I've taken. I remember the times that I've over leveraged, or got out before I should have, or moved my stop too quickly. Like, all these mistakes that people make, I make them too, right? And nobody else knows those mistakes but me. You know what I'm saying? And I do share that I do make mistakes. I just don't share every single mistake, right? Just like I don't share every trade, I don't share every win either. I don't share all the good deeds I do either, because I don't want you to know that stuff, right? But anyway, so coming back to the point, the Stoics, right? And I shared this on Twitter the other day as well. Give me 1 second while I look this up. So Cleanthes is in The Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman, right? The same gentleman that did the Daily Stoic, right? And there's a chapter on Cleanthes, and there's a certain segment where it says this kind of self-talk was a core practice for Stoics, and it wasn't always negative. Once Cleanthes overheard a solitary man talking to himself and kindly told him, quote, "You aren't talking to a bad man," end quote. That is to say, one's self-talk must be strict, but never abusive. So if we expand on that idea, strict but not abusive, I think, and I've done this before, and I see it happen, right? A lot of the times we end up not being strict on ourselves. We end up being abusive to ourselves. And that's where the journaling aspect, or the reflection aspect, now becomes deconstructive rather than constructive criticism. Am I making sense? You want to be constructive. You don't want to be deconstructive. You want to say, look, yeah, maybe you broke your rules, but you're not an idiot. Maybe you had a momentary lapse of judgment, but you're not an idiot. Maybe you're undisciplined, but we can work on that. Being undisciplined or having a momentary lapse of judgment I mean, shit, if you guys knew the women that I've dated, you would be like, holy shit, John. You have repeatedly momentary lapse of judgment, you know? So it is what it is. Strict but not abusive, right? It's like, all right, John, whatever. But we have to be strict with ourselves and tolerant with others, as Marcus would say, but especially when it comes to journaling, we have to be not just strict, but tolerant and non-abusive, constructive feedback to ourselves. Because if we sit there and tell ourselves like, oh man, I can't be a trader, I suck at trading, or I suck at analysis and all this and that, that's not helping you at all. That is not helping your performance. And I mean, maybe for some it might to some extent, but I think it was Do Hard Things by Steve Magnus who talks about the science of like true toughness, and being too hard on yourself actually works against you more than it does for you. So how do we remedy that situation? We have to treat ourselves like we're someone responsible for helping. So you kind of have to, and this is another Stoic practice, you have to take a step back. And this is right also from Do Hard Things, or not Do Hard Things, The Practice of Groundedness by Brad Stulberg, the Stoic book that he doesn't quote any of the Stoics. But anyway, even in modern day cognitive behavioral therapy, their whole thing too is when analyzing a situation, you have to step back, right, from the situation, look at it from a bird's eye view. And so you have to do the same thing. You have to go, okay, if I was telling another person how they did today, how would I frame that? It's like, okay, well, maybe you did move your stop loss too early, but at least, you know, you took the trade, you managed the risk. It's just you jumped the gun a little bit. You got a little bit too impatient. But is there a reason for that? Like, did you have to leave the house? Did you have to go back to work? Like, what made you, you know, jump the gun? So it's kind of like, okay, well, you did these things right. It's just this is where you kind of screwed up at. So it's good that you did X, Y, Z right. It's just, hey, maybe this, you either have like a problem, or maybe it's a case by case basis, something happened or whatever, but you got to figure it out and be constructive rather than deconstructive. So I know it's hard for some people more than it is for others, because a lot of us don't grow up learning from personal development gurus or podcasts or YouTubes or reading books or whatever. That's why I've been so adamant about pushing books onto you guys. And yeah, it's a lot of books. I mean, I created an Instagram page just to keep up with all of them. I mean, that should tell you that it's a lot, right? And it's not for the sake of just to build your library. I mean, anybody can build a library, but it's to get access to information that a lot of us lacked throughout our lives. And a lot of these ideas from either Stoic philosophy or business, or even just self-help personal development books, a lot of it comes back to trading, because your personal development is going to be involved into your trading. I mean, anybody can have a plan, but not everybody can have discipline, right? Everybody can see, but not everybody has a vision. So you can know what an imbalance is. You can know what a mitigation is. Hell, you could print off the mitigation model. I mean, I have it printed off, right? I'm not going to let you screenshot it, but I have it, right? It's my mitigation model. It's right here in front of me. I can see it. But anybody can have it. Or well, I might have made it tier 2 and up. I don't remember. But if you're a tier 2 or a tier 3 member, everybody has access to that mitigation model. So you can know it, you can print it off, you can know all the steps by heart and everything. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have the discipline to abide by the mitigation model rules. You know, that's what makes trading hard. You can go on Twitter you can search. I haven't done this, so I'm just assuming, but you can do like keyword searches and stuff. You could search up trading plan, trading model, mitigation is fucking whatever. Okay. And you can find dozens and dozens, if not hundreds and hundreds of trade plans, some simple, some not so simple, whatever. And they could be great or they could work over time, and that's fine. 60% win rate or whatever, 2-to-1, whatever the case. Okay. But if you do not have the personal development side, it's useless. A plan is useless without the discipline to implement it, right? Part of that implementation is journaling and developing yourself, but being too hard on yourself or to yourself, especially like in private, which a journal should be. That I think is one of the contributing factors to what holds traders back from the success that they want. So, with that being said, do you guys feel that that's a problem? Do you guys feel like, man, John, I have a journal, but I don't know how to journal? Or, well, I mean, I write, but I don't really know what to write about. I don't know if I'm even doing this correctly. Do any of you feel that way? Because I felt that way for a long time. Sometimes I still do. I still journal though, but in the beginning I was like, I almost thought this was a waste of time. Yeah. I'm like, what benefit? I'm like, what the fuck does this have to do with trading? I just tried to date it and what I did in a Word document and throw the screenshots. Throw the screenshots right today. Okay, Willow. So when you put that stuff in there, the date, the charts, I'm assuming like a before and after or whatever. Do you actually go back and look at it, or do you just kind of like, all right, I put the chart in here, my job is done, I'm off to margaritas and quesadillas. I'm off to Taco Tuesday, and that's it. Naruto says, I've been journaling for years now. It has taken different shapes and forms, but usually it's just noting down and developing concepts, ideas, thoughts, and things I've learned over time. Well, it says I used to treat it as a check-in, the box type thing. Yeah. Journaling done forever, but after not seeing the consistent success I've since been going back and reviewing my weeks on Sundays. Yeah. Sometimes I do analysis on losing trades or even like a break-even trade too quickly. Because I'll be like, oh, I just got it wrong. Like, or, oh, I just assumed whatever and just kind of like brush it off. Like, all right, on to the next one. Right? Jay-Z. Breezing past the difficult stuff because it's like I want to take responsibility. It's almost like doing it just for the sake of doing it. Like, oh yeah, I journaled. It's all good. But it's like, all right, you're just going through the motions. You're not actually journaling for the sake of learning. You're just journaling for the sake of writing some shit down so you can move on with your day, just to say that you've done it. But I've been known to do that too. Or I'll just say, man, fuck it. It was a good trade. It just hit stop loss. I mean, what do you expect? It's just a losing trade, losing transaction, and that's it, Versus like actually going, okay, why did it run to stop? Like what did we actually miss? Other than just chalking it up as a loss. Well, of course it's a loss, but is there anything that you actually did wrong, or did you just get it wrong? And I think that is one of the steps that we overlook. And then it just comes back to bite us in the ass later. Almost like hamster wheel. Because if you don't learn from that mistake, you're just going to make it again later. It hit me today in my entry earlier that the purpose of this is seeking clarity, which I believe requires internal reflection, stillness, and understanding of both the internal and external. This is what we seek with trading as well, clarity. So that is what is important for trading, reviewing and understanding in order to have clarity, which will now be my focus on journaling with trading. Yeah, it's a lot of work. not just physical work, but mental work as well. And by physical work, I don't mean just pressing a button for the buy and sell, right? Or order placement. I'm saying physically as in, buying the journal, taking the pen to the paper and actually spending that time. I think taking trades in the beginning was really easy because I didn't have certain expectations. I didn't have the expectation of, all right, I should just wick this. Like that, that was not expectations. Whereas now, many, many years later, I have the expectation of, okay, well, you should be right within a very small time window. So I think having those expectations, and then if they're not met, it almost begins to attack the ego, and that's not good. Because now you're letting something that has nothing to do with the market affect your trading. You're going, oh, you just want to be right. Like you just want to make money. Well, I mean, everybody wants to make money, but I'm saying like you just want to be right for the sake of being right. You don't want to make money for money's sake. You're just trying to do something that you'll try to impress other people or something with like your entry and exit, for social media or something like that. And that's why I told you guys over the last number of years, you take some really good entries. Like you get a wick entry on a 1 minute or 5 minute and it runs to your TP. And that shit is worse than any drug that I could even imagine, because it's like, okay, we did this once, maybe twice. All right, now we should be able to do that every time. Like, oh, I wish every trade was like that. I wish I could wick every trade, which, would be great, but I don't. I don't wick every trade. It would be nice, but it doesn't happen. You get addicted to the well, it's not just the feeling, but it's the P&L too. You go, man, almost no risk, straight reward. Like that's what trading should be. That's what trading is, I mistakes and I got the fantasy of the potential waning of the market. Didn't get that when I feel down in my emotions very badly. Yeah. Well, nobody likes being wrong. Trust me. Okay, trust me. I've been in arguments with a lot of people over the years, and some people can be blatantly fucking wrong. I mean, flat out wrong. You could be on camera, running like a red light. Nah, I didn't do it. That wasn't me. It's like, dude, that car's registered in your name. That's you in the fucking driver's seat. We can see your arm hanging out the window. You got a tattoo. We can see the damn tattoo. Like, bro, that's you. Nah, it wasn't me. People just despise being wrong. It's an ego thing. Ego is the enemy, Ryan Holiday. And so with that, it's like the ego in trading doesn't hurt anybody but you. It doesn't hurt anybody but you. So it would be more advantageous to not have an ego in trading. I think it was Epictetus who said, the more we value things outside of our control, the less control we have. You don't control price, but you control your interpretation. The Stoics would say, don't wish for events to play out how you want them to. Just accept them as they come. It was Nietzsche later, and I don't really have I don't really like Nietzsche all that much, but even he said, I think it was amor fati, the love of fate. You shouldn't just accept things as they come. You should love whatever happens to you, which I think might be a gem, but I still don't like Nietzsche, but that's still a decent gem. You should love whatever happens to you. Love of fate. I mean, that's hard though. That's hard. Nobody wants to love when bad things happen to you. Man, John, I really love taking a loss. Who says that? Who loves being cheated on? Who loves waking up in the middle of the night with food poisoning? No one loves that. But anyway, the whole point of today is the way, or at least discussing how we talk to ourselves and why we should not talk to ourselves in a way that is harmful, but more so helpful. strict but not abusive.